one.
Hey guys, if if this is listening, Bible study has been canceled, and this is my last Saturday here in Middletown before I go to New York. So, this is my testimony. This is my story essentially about how my life before God and then life after I had God into my life. Jeez, the bugs here are terrible, by the way. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but we'll work with it. So, anyway, where do I begin such a tale? Oh, and by the way, this is your warning. There will be a lot of dark stuff in this, so if you don't want to watch this, you don't have to, but you have been warned. So, and this is long, so just watch it chunks if you have to, and if you want to watch the whole thing, then by all means. But I'm planning on releasing this the night of this recording, so yeah, let's begin. Okay, so basically I was born into this world on December 30th, 2003, and my parents and my teachers would describe me as the perfect final exam, which basically means because for background, I was born with symptoms of autism and ADHD without having any of them enough symptoms to be diagnosed with it. So I am basically just a jack of all trades problem child here. And yeah, so that's probably where we should start off there. My parents called me the perfect final exam for parents because you couldn't find me in a textbook. And at first in life I was a happy child, like all children, naive to this world, naive to everything, naive to this sinful world that God put us on. But then as I got older, specifically first grade I remember, is when God put experience in my life. You see, during first grade, I had a teacher who wasn't so nice to me, who treated me like dirt because I was a special child, to say the least, and that I was stubborn as a bull. So we went arguments on and off. She basically acted like a child, and she almost held me back for first grade because of the fact that I was a quote-unquote distraction to myself. But luckily, my parents, my mom at the time was part of the PTO, so that background is important enough, basically said, no, move them up, then we'll see how it goes. And thanks to them fighting hard enough, I was able to get to second grade. And here's the funny part of this story, of chapter 1, to say the least. My second grade teachers, when my parents were going to a parent-teacher conference to discuss it, and they were like nervous as all heck whether or not I would get held back, my second grade teachers, like when my parents asked this, basically said, what are you talking about? There's no need to hold him back. And my parents are like, well, he's a distraction to others, right? And they're like, no. He's a distraction to himself. He's a distraction to himself. He gets angry. He gets frustrated. But other than that, that kid's good to go. And here's another thing about that, my first grade teacher, because thanks to her, this is where one of my main problems stemmed from. Because my first grade teacher hated me so much that, you know how in some schools, I don't know which schools some of you go to, but there's a weekly report card. I got all failing grades on that. Like all I's, all N's even. Because she hated me that much, and she basically said, this kid's not good enough. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how hard he does, he's not good enough. And for some reason, and it's interesting how in psychology, some things that happen to you when you're a child still stick with you even when you're an adult. And that gave birth to something that I like to call an inferiority complex. Basically means that I feel like I'm inferior to everyone and everything, even though there's no reason to think like that. And I can give an example how I always compared myself and still compare myself to my father and my older brother, because like, oh, look at them, my dad was smart when he was my age, or oh, look at my brother, he's more social than me. Just crap like that is enough to get me feeling, well, we'll get back to that later, but for now, let's move on. So there was a lot of things that happened in between, like from this sentence, I hate myself. I learned that in my vocabulary early, that simple phrase, and my mom got so frustrated with me, and originally I didn't know why, but now I see why. But anyway, let's time skip over to 5th grade. Barely had any friends because I was still having the social problems of an autistic child, but yet can act normal enough to blend in to an extent. So, essentially, yeah, these bugs are devouring. Anyway.
Same.
So, but we're going through this anyway.
Yeah,
so
we are, boy.
This is where I met two friends, to put it lightly, and how I got introduced to one of the deepest sins of my life, lust. Like, I've already said this to you, to your group, that I had, and slightly do, it's gotten better, problems with lust. And it started in 5th grade, so first, let me start with my introduction to that. So my older brother at the time, he was in middle school. Yeah, he was in middle school, and basically he was friends with, and from that early age, he was quote unquote an F-boy, which don't want to deny it or accept it. He's my older brother, can't really hate him. So anyway, that's besides the point. The point is, one time he brought one of his, let's just say, frisky friends over. And she didn't do anything rated R level. Basic middle school levels of lust. So basically, sitting on someone's lap and stuff, and dancing very frisky. And that's what they were doing downstairs in the basement. And me, being the young brother that I am, like, I've always looked up to my older brother, even though when we were younger he picked on me a lot with his friends. But I'm going to leave most of that out because we don't have enough time in the day. So basically, he said, sure, you could hang, which I don't know why. Maybe because having a younger brother there made him look cooler or something, or whatever. I don't know the reason. I don't care to know. But then she started dancing, the friend started dancing very sexually, if you know what I mean, and basically, yeah, that was my introduction. It's a weak introduction, but here's the thing. Just like a seed planted in God, like, here's what I like to notice with these issues so far, is that there are small seeds planted that cause bigger problems along the way because they weren't dealt with properly.
Right.
Me, I should have gone to my parents right then and there and just said, yeah, okay, yeah, that happened. But I was like, no, I want to be a cool younger brother. I decided not to. And that was my big mistake. So, and then let's get to, again, another story in 5th grade. I met two friends there, or friends, as I like to call them, who basically were troublemakers, essentially. Like, we had a unique sense of unity in the fact that we both hated our 5th grade teacher because she was kind of a nag, but besides the point. So we hung out a lot, and it was fun for some parts, but others, they were just doing bad crap, and I didn't want to be a part of it. From lighting fires to doing all that other delinquent crap, and personally I didn't want to be a part of it because there was still something that was holding me back from doing that, and I think it was either just the Holy Spirit deep down, because I was born crap, I forgot a lot of context to fill in here, but I did have interactions with God beforehand, essentially, but I just ran away from him because I was scared of the idea of hell when it was introduced, to put it shortly.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there was something that was holding me back, and there was this one time where they started to pick on me a lot. Sure, it started off as joking, but then it got too serious, and then they stepped on my hands and said they wanted to fight me. And I'm like, what the heck? We were just joking around. How the heck did this start happening? And so, luckily I shoved them off of me and ran away, because I wasn't a fighter back then. And, yeah, like this was before I entered middle school. So, my two only friends betrayed me and started to bully me a lot. And that's where another issue came in. My social anxiety and fear of being betrayed or feeling afraid of making connections with people. Because, heck, when you have friends, you trust them. You put your trust into them, and when that trust is betrayed, you're gonna feel something. Especially to that level of betrayal. And so, I entered middle school, and you know how middle school is. There's going to be some stupid crap there.
Yep.
But, yeah, that was when the real struggle started to begin. First, 6th grade, I got bullied a lot. Still a lot. I didn't want to go to school. I remember one time telling my mom that I didn't feel so well just because I wanted to skip. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to go on the bus because I knew that was where it was worse. And from being accused of watching porn, which I was like, what the hell is porn, for one thing? Heck, my bad.
It's okay.
That was direct quotes, okay? Nah.
Gotcha.
And second, what is that? And I did not do that. So, and I got frustrated, obviously, because you know me. Get frustrated with little accusations. And I got shoved up against the window at one point on a bus. And it hurt like heck, so, yeah. And basically that left me not having to ride the bus anymore for the next year or so. But that still didn't make the situation go away. It just made it happen during school. Luckily, nothing, because they were smart enough not to leave any permanent scars on me, because then I could have ample evidence. For me, so at least they didn't go full-on brutality on me, just enough to make me hurt. Enough to make me feel some sort of pain mentally or physically. And they attacked me more psychologically than anything. So, and that just led to a whole lot of problems. Like, a lot of other problems. Like, I had more bullies than just them in my life, and I got called, like, and this is throughout middle school. And this is where my official battle of lust begins, because this was during health class, and ironically, this was a week after we got presented with a slideshow of how porn is bad and how we shouldn't be on it and all that, and how we could go to jail and all that. And then all of a sudden, like in health class, a random classmate, don't even know this person, was like, hey, you want to check out our website? And I was like, sure, free website? It's probably, like, I just thought to myself, probably a game website, not gonna hurt. So, then he pulled it up, and it was a porn site. And I remember specifically which one. I'm not gonna tell you. It's not going to give you any ideas. Anyway, so, and that's where it all went downhill from there when it came to that. And, like, I was doing it every day almost, because, like, that crap, it gets addicting. It is addictive. I don't know if girls there can, if you can even understand or you relate to this, but for guys, every one of you, if I asked you, have you watched porn, all of you would raise your dang hands. And for those of you who don't, congrats, you are a liar. Yeah, Jake raising his hand. Anyway, yeah, I'm calling you out anyway.
It's okay.
So, yeah. Again, like, I'm telling this story not for my benefit, but to, for one, say my final goodbyes, and second, to just get everything out there. So, in middle school, that's when my depression came at its highest as well, and anxiety. I did not fit in. I hated myself. I wanted to die. And it got worse in 8th grade, because, like, I still had no friends, no one to talk to, no one to... I just spent time with the teachers and just, like, I was that kid. I was that weird kid who just talked to teachers all the time and just said, and just asked them about work or life or whatever. And I also began my daily habits of taking walks all the time, like walking back and forth, because I just didn't want to be in class. And I faked headaches as well, just because I didn't really want to be there. I didn't get the point of life there. And so, like, I remember specifically when I started to hurt myself a bit. Not to leave scars, but enough to, you can notice it. I was in 7th grade, and it was during math class. I just, doing something stupid during math class. What else is usual? Anyway, so, basically, I had a sharp pencil, sharp enough to at least do some cuts. And I was bored, and and that was during the time when those dangerous thoughts went into my head and just said, you're worthless, you're not going to do anything in this life, might as well just end it. And so I just started to hurt myself because I got frustrated over the work that we were doing. And that's kind of how it started. I scratched myself with the pencil over and over again. And then, like, one time, and I'm surprised that they didn't catch it the first time, but one time, I don't know whether it was the 4th or the 5th, but this one time my teacher caught me doing it, and he was like, dude, what happened to your arms? And I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, we are going to worry about it. You can't do this. And I'm like, why? Because it's not good. And I'm like, why? That's the thing, I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about it. Because here's the thing. I just didn't get the point of this world. I hated the world and its people. Because it rejected me before it even had a chance to know me fully. From being picked on by my brother, having to become an older brother, having to be thrown all these responsibilities, get picked on, get bullied, not to the extent that some people get, which I thank God for that, but still enough to cause some real damage. And not to mention how I didn't have a single friend in the world that I could really talk to, that I could really get to know and have some sort of relationship with. And and I was one of the nerdiest guys known to man when it came to a lot of geeky stuff, from comic books to even Magic the Gathering, which, by the way, I stopped that addiction is gone. Thank God. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the whole scratching my arms part. I hope this comic relief is enough to help drown out the sense of me telling myself to kill myself is
Right.
definitely it. But they called my parents, and they were like, and when I got home, they were like, why did you scratch yourself with a pencil? And I broke down. I just broke down, saying that I didn't want to live anymore, that I didn't care about this world anymore, that I wanted to kill other people as well. And since I can't do that, they were basically like, kid, I saw the despair in their eyes, and I saw how much of a burden I was on them. And I think that's what gave birth to my burden complex, which is I think it's a term that I made up, but basically
It works.
what it means is I feel like a burden to everyone. And anyone who I ever texted saying sorry, or I was always over apologetic ever since I was a little kid, so maybe it's sorry before then, but that's just my hypothesis on
Right.
it. Like, I could go deeper, but we don't have time. So, and then they were like, it's okay, kid. It's okay. We're going to talk to someone. We're going to get you a psychologist, a new one, because I had one to deal with my anger, but she died a while ago, so that, like, we're going to figure this out. Because here's the thing, when you're a parent, and I figured this out from watching some videos about parents who had suicidal kids and who actually committed suicide, is that they always go with the dad approach, which is to fix it. Not just to listen, but to fix it.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, as guys, as dads, they tend to fix things. There's a problem, they fix it. They don't listen to it and actually listen.
Yeah.
They just try to fix it, and to me that seemed like the wrong approach. And then I started to basically make friends with the wrong people again, but they seemed a lot nicer and they didn't bully me, thank God. But there were some of the weird kids who believed in sadism and all that, which, yes, Wilson was partially looking into sadism. Excuse me. We are, again, middle school Wilson was a sociopathic jackwagon who was suicidal. I don't really see what you expected. So anyway, but like, I wasn't fully into it. I was just, okay, looking it up, seeing what it means, seeing what everything's going on. Some of them lied to me, but the moment I realized that I was with the wrong friend group is when I said something that offended them. Because one of them was a lesbian, the other was a transgender, the other was, I don't know what the heck, part of the LGBTQ plus A, whatever the heck you call it nowadays. And they got offended, they got mad, and no matter how many times I apologized, because I'm always a very apologetic person, they rejected me and threw me out. And I'm like, okay. So again, back to having no friends. And that actually broke my heart. Because despite them not being the right type of people, like, you always, like, here's the problem with this world and our ability and our reliance on social connections. Even if they are the bad ones, you would rather have that than be alone in this world. And yeah, so, and I also had a crush on a girl for a while, and get ready, here comes an 8th grade formal story. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. This is not really that. And then and here's a story that not even my parents know. After that, getting rejected, and after getting pressured by some random people into asking her out, only to break down from anxiety of it, because, like, sure, it's just asking a girl out, but at the same time, that was big for me.
It can be scary, man.
Yeah.
Girls are scary sometimes.
Especially when you don't have the right friends to back you up.
Right.
So, it involved me breaking down into huge anger, and everything that I had bottled up just came flowing out, and it ended up with me punching a window and breaking it. So, Mrs. Harrison's room. For any of you who know who Mrs. Harrison is, she was a science teacher. Her room in Everett Meredith Middle School had a window, and I broke it because I ate lunch up there, and during that, people were pressuring me. One of them even made a sign for me, and here's the thing, just imagine getting shoved into the worst possible situation you could have ever been in. It just happened so fast I couldn't handle it. And I lost it and punched a window. Luckily, I didn't cut my hands, because I was protected from the curtain. But the window did break, and that's when I broke down. Because, like, oh my god, my parents are going to kill me. I'm going to be a burden on them again. And then, like, after my parents talked, they were actually seriously calm about it because they understood where I came from. Because that was also a day where I got picked on in gym class, being called a retard, and then got slammed into the wall and lost my temper on the gym teacher, Mr. Myers, for any of you who care.
I know him.
Yeah. He was kind of a jerk to me, so. He was pretty cool, but he was also a jerk, so. Basically, yeah, I just had to deal with that whole scenario. Luckily, my parents forgave me, and they were like, okay, kid, you're gonna work a bit over the summer, just de-weed veins in order, just de-weed the sidelong, and then to make up for the money that cost. But I was like, I felt terrible, because it wasn't the punishment. It was just the fact that I was such a screw-up in society, in this world. Like, everything this world valued. Like, my brother was in high school. He had girlfriends coming over left and right. While me, I was lucky enough. Actually, I didn't have any friends over, so I basically felt alone in this world while my older brother was thriving. And I always compared myself to him, and that ended up just being part of it. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I just don't have, I just can't anymore. And that's when I made an attempt of suicide. Luckily, I was more of a dumb butt than I ever thought I was, and used a hanger to hang myself instead of a rope. Like, you always go for the rope! But enough of the suicide joke. The point is, yeah, I basically tried to kill myself that day and night with the attempt of it. Luckily, it broke. Not the fan, thank God, but the hanger. It broke while I was about to hang myself. And I was like, why? Why did it have to break? And my parents came in crashing in, like, what's happening? Because apparently the snap was enough to wake them up. But not me falling. It was the snap. And I was like, yeah. Like, I came up with some bullcrap excuse. I forget what it was. But they didn't ask. And that's all I wanted. And at this point, like, during this point, that was when I started Sam Roberts, who was a semi-friend but acquaintance. We didn't really hang out much, but like during this same time period, he invited me to Lifehouse Church. And
Best day of our lives, man.
No, the best day of life is when I officially accepted God into my life. But
Amen.
like before then, and I was like, okay, so clearly I overreacted to this, like trying to kill yourself. Those thoughts were still there, but I at least rationalized it and felt like, remember those tears that you brought to your mom's eyes? You have never seen your mom cry. Not even once. In your entire life did you see her cry. But you saw the tears of despair in her eyes when she even heard of the fact that you thought of killing yourself. Imagine if you actually did do that. For once, a burden complex actually came in handy. You think of yourself as even more of a burden when you're actually a burden. When your death is a burden. So I decide, well, can't kill myself, so what now? So that's when I basically looked into more things to solve my life. And this is when I started getting into politics, which is important to this because it was like, okay, what to do now? Because like these guys, what they're speaking, like I was listening to conservatives and it made me look back on the past friends and been like, okay, those guys were totally fucked up. But I screwed up.
There we go. We saved it.
Yes. No, slightly. But besides the point, they were screwed up. And I was like, okay, so yeah, these guys seem happy. These guys seem to do what they love. These guys seem to have a glow to them. Like, it was Ben Shapiro and Andrew Klavan who I listened to the most. Like, just Ben Shapiro Fug Lives mainly. Look those up. Those are amazing. I still look back on them to this day. But then my dad decided, after he saw me watching them, to like, okay, let's download the podcast of it. And then that's when I really started getting into it. I'm like, yo, this guy's saying some real truths here. I wonder what is going on with that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was that he was talking about, but it involved like Christianity, Judeo-Christian values,
Mm-hmm.
and how it formed this country, how Judeo-Christian values, because I always loved my country ever since I was a little kid. I always liked the idea of freedom and being what you want to be without accepting who you are, while at the same time always striving to improve yourself. Like, I always liked that concept.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were talking about the Judeo-Christian values, the values of Christianity, and that got me thinking, what if I actually gone to church? Would that solve everything? Would that help me? I was hesitant, but then I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. So, this is not where I meet you guys. I meet you guys somewhere after. But, so, basically, I went to a Catholic church first, which, by the way, big mistake, and realized that, okay, a glorified cult. Okay. Cuz, have you been to a Catholic service?
Yeah.
Those people just, the amount of rituals you have to do. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they said the Catholic cult, I would be like, makes sense.
Yeah, it's
So
very
I
ritualistic.
So I basically just walked right out of there, and then was like, okay, I know there are more denominations, so I asked my aunt and uncle what their denomination was. These are the same uncle and aunt I'm working with for now. So, and they were like Southern Baptist, and I'm like, okay, let's try that. Looked up Baptist. And also, then Sam looked up Baptist, and I'm like, okay, based on what I'm hearing, yeah, seems a bit better, less ritualistic. And so I basically, yeah, then the only question was finding a church. Because I didn't want to go to the church that is in the main town of Milltown.
Yeah.
Because it had the LGBTQ flag in them. And, no, I don't think the BLM flag was a big thing back then, but it had that. Which just said, okay, hypocrisy at its finest. Time to check on them. And then that's when Sam invited me to Lifehouse Church. And I hesitated a bit for a moment. Because I'm like, okay, I don't know these people. No idea who they are. And this is the beginning of summer where I could be doing literally anything better to do. And I'm like, and then I think to myself, wait, you don't have anything better to do. You don't really have any hobbies. You don't really do anything for much. So you're like, okay, let's go. So I think I went to a service first before I went to,
Youth group.
and coincidentally, this was when they were having that meeting lunch, that first time lunch for those.
Right, yeah.
And like, I went in with my mom because I couldn't drive myself at the time, and my mom wanted to help me find the church. And so basically they pursued, and then like we sat down, there were a few people that my mom recognized, so she talked to them. Me, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And then all of a sudden, like as it starts, the music started. And I'm like, this is different.
Right.
This is different. This is a lot different. And then by the second song, I was blown away by it, but not enough to be fully convinced, because you can't just listen to a song and just turn into a Christian like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I knew my parents always taught me question everything you see, so
Questions
Never
are
judge a
good.
book by its cover.
We love Wilson's questions.
Yes.
We
yes,
love them.
Yes. This is when it gets to that point. So, anyway, and I'm like, okay, still there. Then I listen to the service, and I'm like, okay, Pastor Mark is speaking some truth. And this is back in when it was Meredith, so post-traumatic stress came into that. But yeah, and then I went up to lunch, met Pastor Mark, met Pastor Danny. Yeah, that was when I met him, and he was like, "Come to a youth group, it'll be fun." And I forgot to mention I did be a part of youth group, but I was just there for the games and stuff.
Right.
I wasn't actually there to learn the Bible, because my dad taught me that, or I misread it as Christianity were filled with hypocrites, and I was like, and I didn't figure out the concept that, oh, you can love a God without loving its people. Well, I mean, without, just because the people are hypocrites, that doesn't mean that God itself is hypocrite.
Amen.
So that's what I meant. Don't take that in any other offensive way.
Thank you for the
So,
elaboration.
I basically was like, okay, let's see worst case scenario. I sit alone, it's whatever. I put on my headphones and was just like, and this is during Wednesday when it happens, or Tuesdays. What?
It was Wednesday. No, it was Tuesdays.
It was Tuesdays when I entered. So
Yes.
it was Tuesday.
Old head over here.
I remember this first day, like, I had no one to talk to, for the most part, because no one knew me, and everyone was kind of sticking to themselves, which I was like, okay, same as usual. Nothing changes here. So I was listening to my music and just doing me, not really focusing on anyone else but me, because I was on a mission. I was to learn what I can and to ask questions when I can. And then the worship started. And I'm questioning, and I basically see you guys, all of you, well, some of you weren't there at the time, and others were there that aren't here now, but besides the point, I see you guys group up. I see you guys just singing along, not exactly listening to anything and I just feel something bright, something hot, something shining.
Right.
And all of them smiling, all of them having a good time, all of them, oh dear God. Anyway.
Hey, we
all
got
of
more
them
people coming. We love it.
having fun, and I'm like, this is something different.
Right.
For once in my life, I'm not, like, sure, I'm not, like, I was out in the back at the time, like, I was in the dark,
Yeah.
not in the light. So, words cannot describe what I felt that day. Like, it wasn't enough to get me into God yet, but it was enough for a push.
Right. Good first push.
And hello, Blake. Anyway.
Blake is here now.
Yes, Blake is here.
Blake is gone now.
Yes, Blake is gone now. Bye-bye, Blake. Anyway. So, yeah, sorry for that. Anyway,
Nah, you're good.
Besides the point, like, words cannot describe it. So, then when the opening statement started, I was, like, listening to it. I don't know what it was specifically about, and for that I apologize. But all I knew is that when we had small groups, during that time, which, by the way, I miss. Why can't we do that again?
Facts. We love Wilson questions in small groups.
But here's the thing. I asked like a million questions. Some of them was out of anger. Others was out of pure curiosity. And this was when I had Cody Hall. Oh, is that his last name?
Cody, yes.
Yeah,
Cody Hall. The
Yeah.
GOAT.
And, like, oh my God, this guy. Like, usually I felt like a bother when I was asking questions about things. But he just said it with a smile. He just said all those answers with a smile on his face. And I always said I was sorry for after asking every question, now that I think about it. But he's like, no, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. And for once, I felt welcomed by someone. Felt like I was wanted to be coming here. Sure, it wasn't by everyone. And again, like, I had distrust for, with all due respect, a lot of you.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, based on context, I knew that everyone my age was either petty or very annoying or both. But I just couldn't figure out how you guys were smiling, so I wanted to figure that out. I wanted to figure out how you guys were laughing, having a good time, shining bright. And weeks went on when I came to the service, came to youth
group.
Yeah, youth group, and then just asked questions until that day came where I accepted God into my life. And I think it was within like 2 months or so into it. And I think I met Jake before then.
Yeah, we were in a few small groups together.
Yeah, we were in a few small groups. And like the fact that I didn't know the answers to the questions definitely angered me. Or the fact that because like I hated Christianity. Here's another part of my testimony that I should have stated way back, but I'm saying it now. I used to hate Christianity when I was younger. I just hated it when I was in middle school. Because why do you believe in something that's not there? Why do you believe in something that is so pointless and stupid? Because all those times in my life were dark. No God protected me. But this was before I found out that's not how it works.
Right.
That struggles are made for you to become stronger.
Amen, Wilson.
And this was also when I found out that God can make the weak strong. And then interesting things happened. Like this was when and then I became a freshman in high school after that. And basically, I had to deal with still being a social outcast, not learning all the things that I am now, not being the me that I wanted to be. Because I have to say, on the spiritual warfare, I was 1/4. Like, the rest of me was darkness, but there was just one tiny speck of light. Just a tiny speck.
Right.
Just enough that you can see it vividly.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah. And yeah, so I wasn't the most well-behaved Christian in high school and freshman year. But then, like again, it all happened during summer. And I still felt kind of not part of the group, not part of youth group. Not part of that. Because I used to come to Chick-fil-A back when it was open, back when Sam Roberts came, which, as you all know, was a long time ago. So I used to come with them and his friends, but I didn't really feel like I fit in there.
Right.
So, and I just got anxiety over it. Just like, I'm still alone. Why am I still alone? I thought God was supposed to change everything.